Today I wanted to talk about how I almost went broke trying to get rich. I was in the same exact spot about a year ago. I had just enough fuel in my airplane to make it home and no idea of when I would be able to fly again because I couldn't even afford groceries. I had $400 in my bank account and I had $500,000 worth of uncollateralized debt on credit cards and short-term loans trying to make my business work. And no one is surprised as I am because 1 year later, my business nets me millions of dollars per month. And I just wanted to talk about what it took to get there. Probably do an audio sync. Headphone warning. There's also a bear out there that I saw on my flight in. He was like right around one of those little humps. Hopefully that'll be a warning for him too for a little bit. You guys will probably see him come into frame before I do. But all of this started when I launched my business. It's a social media marketing company. At this point, I had millions of followers already. I was rich by most people's definition, and the business was incredibly successful. I had paid to learn from a lot of other people how to operate a similar business, marketing online, selling online, and delivering services online. I had an incredible amount of experience in social media. So I don't want anyone to misinterpret this and think that I started from scratch or from negative 500,000 with no previous experience and was able to make that kind of money within a year. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. But what did happen is I took all of my previous expertise and I directed it towards a new business. Previously, I was doing social media content. I had millions of followers doing that. I worked with some of the biggest Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies in the world, Amazon, PayPal, Robinhood, made content for them, and I was very successful at doing so. I left that world to go start a publishing company. I promise this is very relevant because I want you to know how I came into my money and why it was taken so quickly away from me. I started a publishing company, and that was very successful as well, but it moved my focus from creating social media content to the social media publishing, which I was actually not a part of. That company went on to do millions of dollars in profit per year, and it was very successful. And then I eventually wanted to transition to this third business because unlike the actual social media content that I was posting, making content for other brands, and unlike the publishing company, I wanted something where I could control the income, where I could say, hey, this month, I want to make more money and I actually have a say in how much client revenue I bring in. That's so important to me. That is so important to me because it is that exact reason why I ended up in this terrible position. I started acquiring clients online. We were very successful. We had a few months where we kind of built out the product, did market research. And then when we went to market in our first month, I think we did 120,000 in top line revenue. In the second month, I think we did closer to 350,000 in top line revenue. Our third month running ads, our third full month doing this business, we did 500,000 in top line revenue. And on the outside, it seemed incredibly successful because we were generating all this revenue. Holy smokes. There's so many flies here. I have an ungodly amount of mosquito spray on me too. I have no clue what I'm going to do. The gun's not going to help. But it looked like we were very successful. And what was actually happening on the inside is I wasn't paying attention to the thing that I said was most important. I wanted this business to be able to go out and get clients at will. I didn't want to be at the whim of case studies or reviews or testimonials or bigger clients to be able to give me business and hope and pray that I got business. Because yes, when I was a social media influencer, I would make $20,000 from a single 30-second reel. I've done that just recently, and it's a massive paycheck. But if companies are only coming around once or twice a year, for example, this year, we only had 2 partnerships total and I don't expect any for the rest of the year because I'm not even really doing it anymore. But it was 30,000 in total revenue from those 2 posts that I did, which sounds great. It's like, oh my gosh, you spend 2 minutes and you make 30 grand. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? Well, when you do it year after year, and when you only make money at the beginning or the end of the year, and the entire middle of the year you starve, and no matter how big you get or how much outbound you do, you can't get Amazon to come back around for a second video more than once a year. You have no control over how much money you make. I'm just a sitting duck. And while I love being a city duck making 30,000 from a couple of videos, what I don't like is spending my entire year sitting and being a duck in hopes of matching the poverty level in terms of income. So I knew the social media stuff wouldn't work out. Same with the publishing business. I got tons of restrictions in that business that prevent me from continuing to scale it. So I just didn't even want to participate. And what I've learned about myself is that if I cannot control the means of production in my business, if I can't increase the income at will, if I cannot become smarter or work harder to increase my income, that is a game that I don't even want to play. And so that is what caused me to play this new game with this new company. But despite wanting to be in control of client acquisition, despite making a ton of money through client acquisition, I actually did not understand client acquisition well enough. And after talking with thousands of business owners, helping them understand this exact problem, so we're a marketing company, that's what we do client acquisition. I am always shocked at how few people understand client acquisition. My entire goal for this video is just to help you learn from my mistakes. There's a saying that stupid people make mistakes and don't learn from them. Average people make mistakes and hopefully learn from them. And then smart people, they don't need to make the mistakes. They can look at what the stupid and average people did and learn from those guys and not suffer themselves. And if this video leaves you with anything, I hope it's not suffering through the same mistakes that I made. And if I'm being honest, I didn't even want to make this video. I flew out here today, like I've got a knot in my stomach. I don't want to talk about this. It's a really painful part of my life, and I've been scared to go back to it. And I know that contradicts what I just said, is that I should learn from my mistakes. If I'm being an average person, I should have been a smart person. I should have learned from other people's mistakes and not ended up in this situation in the first place. But I don't want to relive it. And when I think about the type of person I was, the kind of mistakes I made in business, I just want to distance myself so far from that person. I don't want to go back and repeat the same mistakes that put my family into an incredibly difficult spot. So, and I've been out of it for a long time. Like we've had an incredible year, millions of dollars per month in personal income. We are fine now. And it does suck that I'm like still bothered by it. I just want to distance myself so much from that person that I don't even want to talk about it. So I'm not making this video for me. I'm not making this video to brag. I hope you don't interpret it that way. I'm making this video for every single entrepreneur that will be in my shoes and are presented with the same decisions in hopes that you can learn from me. You can be the smart person and not make the same mistakes that I made. Month 1, 2, 3, we made a lot of money. Month 4, 5, 6, it got tight. And what actually got tight wasn't the revenue. Revenue kept increasing. It was increasing really quickly. What increased was customer acquisition cost relative to lifetime value. How much does it cost you to get a customer versus how much is that customer worth to you? I was seeing all this money come into my bank account, but then it was leaving right away. I had a ton of money out in accounts receivable, expected to get paid from clients soon, but I didn't know for sure which clients would pay. And it started to get tight around the 5th month in business. We did, I think, 700,000. And our customer acquisition cost was 150% of our top line revenue. Meaning if we acquired a $100,000 contract, it cost us 150% just in marketing to get that. Before I even fulfill on the client, before anything, we pay out in marketing 150% of what it takes to get us that client. And the metrics were muddied too. I couldn't understand. I kept trying to increase the amount of ad spend that we had, the amount of marketing budget. Because it's like, man, if we're even 5% profitable, if we're even 10% profitable, if we have this narrow wedge of profit, let's just increase the total ad spend. And with that 5%, we'll be able to feed my family. What I failed to account for is I wasn't tracking how that ad spend was actually converting to clients. And what ended up happening is we pushed ad spend higher and higher, and the customer acquisition cost as a percentage of lifetime value actually increased, meaning it got more expensive. But it wasn't because of attrition in success with the ads. The cost per call stayed the same. I couldn't understand why pushing more marketing through the funnel wasn't resulting in more revenue like it should. And the difference was that these clients weren't coming from paid ads. These clients were coming from somewhere else. And as an organic social media marketing company, teaching people how to get traffic without paying for ads, we do ad spend too, but we help people build brands. We help people convert on traffic completely for free. And it's so embarrassing to say that I wasn't even measuring that. Of course we were. Of course we had first touch attribution, last touch attribution. What link did they come from? Which ads did they touch? Which ads did they not touch? But like not to the level that we actually needed to know for certain. And it wasn't until I closed a multi-six-figure client and he told me, hey, this is 2 days after onboarding. Hey, by the way, I want to back out. It wasn't until that multi-six-figure contract wanted to back out that I thought to ask, why? He said, well, I saw one of your ads. I didn't know that you guys run ads. I thought that this was all organic social media. I thought you were using a brand to drive all this revenue. I said, what do you mean? Of course we run ads. You haven't seen our ads? How'd you get on a call with us? We spend like $70,000, $100,000 a month on ads. How'd you not see any of our ads? You paid me six figures. You didn't even, how did you even get here? It was like, oh, I've been watching your social media content. I posted 15 times that month. It brought me a six-figure client. And that's when it clicked. That's when I realized, holy smokes, the revenue that has been brought in by this company, the massive jumps in income, 100,000, 300,000, 500,000 per month, weren't coming from the increase in ad spend. We were blowing money on ads and like not even making an ROI from the ads. All of the revenue that we had, and we had a really stable base. It was like 150 to 300,000 a month that we were making completely for free from organic social media content that I was posting anyways. And it was the lack of attribution, the lack of understanding how I actually came to acquire those customers. The exact thing that I said I wanted to control with this business so that I can increase my income at will, I had no control over. And so at this point, what I understood is like our ads aren't working. Our offer does not work on cold traffic. It's not converting well enough. The only way I'm making money, and I'm making tons of money, I'm making 200, 300,000 a month with zero customer acquisition costs. The only way that this thing is working, the reason our business is still afloat is because of organic social media, the exact thing that I teach clients to do, the exact thing that I did for the largest businesses in the world, Amazon, PayPal, Robinhood, Dr. Pepper. The thing that I was good at is what is keeping us afloat. And all of this other bull crap, which I paid hundreds of thousands to learn from these experts, I wasn't doing correctly because I didn't learn enough from them to be good enough to generate the type of revenue that I actually thought I was generating. All of that was coming from organic social media. And I felt incredibly helpless because at that point I had built up a massive team. We had, 700,000 in top line revenue. We had like 200,000 a month in payroll. We had a lot in ad spend, delivery. It was razor thin margins. And when I went to scale down the team, I lost a lot of people that I really respected. And I knew that I would not be able to get some of those people back. I felt incredibly terrible for the few people that were on the team, and I had no solution for the business. I knew that social media would continue to make me money, but over the last few months, as I tracked that income, it actually decreased. I changed my priority in that, and it was decreasing. It was not a clear out for the business. I had way too much overhead. I had to fulfill on client contracts that I had won like 6 months out in advance. I had clients backing out. I had some people steal. And by the way, when I say like, oh, this client did that, this employee did that thing, my family, made me do this, like none of that's on them. None of that is on them. I don't want you to misunderstand and think like, oh, I'm blaming, this person for my situation. I fully take accountability for the situation, both that I was in, that I got myself into, and all the potential ways that I could have gotten myself out, but chose not to, or wasn't smart enough to be able to get out of. And man, there were just some months there where we were bleeding 200, 300,000 a month from my personal funds to just try to keep the business afloat before I figured out what the actual problem was. Before I figured out what the solution was. I came into this business with a lot of money. I had assets. I had the plane. I had the Porsche. I had, the watches. People are like, why didn't you just sell those stuff? sell the material stuff and keep the business afloat. You have no idea. I couldn't afford groceries. I had $400 in my bank account. Yes, I had a plan on selling the plane. This is a very fancy plane. It takes a while to sell. I need money like right now. Try to sell a Porsche in Alaska. No one wants to buy a Porsche in Alaska. I listed it for sale even before because I didn't want it. Like I don't drive the Porsche. Kind of hate the Porsche. I had all these assets, but none of them were liquid. None of them would be able to get me to the grocery store and to be able to buy groceries for my son. I remember going to the grocery store, $500,000 in debt across all the credit cards. I brought, and if you don't know me, I started out in the credit card space. So I was a finance content creator. I taught people how to leverage credit, and I used it successfully to buy millions of dollars of properties. Unsecured debt was kind of like my thing, and I could get all these credit cards. I had $500,000 in credit cards by the time I was 21 available to me, and so I just kept that and I used it in the business. And oh man, it got us into a lot of debt, and I'm not sorry for the debt. I'm sorry for how I used it, but I remember going to the grocery store with like 3 credit cards, not knowing which one, if any, would actually swipe for the groceries. And then like if I got lucky, I'd get the groceries, and then I'd go to the liquor store and buy like a massive thing of Jack Daniels, like one of the ones that you're like, it's too big to like have on the counter or like to have in a public place in your home, because then like guests come over and think you're crazy. It was one of those ones, and I would come home. I would see that we like got ourselves $20,000 further into the hole for the day. All the while I had employees that were making $20,000, $25,000 a month, and here I am losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I have to keep them on because they're technical, they're skilled. The way I built the business, I can't do what they do. I hired out their work. They're incredibly talented. I let some people go, but there were some people that I just couldn't lose. I knew that if it was a death sentence, if I lose that, I'm not going to have a business. And at the same time, the social media stuff wound down. So again, yes, it's cool that I make $30,000 a year from a couple of social media posts, but I can't control that at all. That is no income. That is like a day's worth of burn for this current company. The publishing company, which I also had, which was extremely profitable, at the same time that this business was declining, the marketing company was declining, that thing got shut down because I was so focused on the marketing company that I completely let this other business die. It was some regulatory stuff. I didn't respond to emails fast enough. I didn't care because I thought that the viral coach business was doing so well. And when I realized it wasn't, I didn't have that safety net. I had already used all those funds to fund the expansion of Viral Coach, to aggressively hire, to scale faster. I had no backup plan. It's like, if I can't make this business work, my other business is shut down, and the social media stuff's not working for me anymore either. I haven't actually posted in years. That was like my whole strategy. That was my whole gig, is like, I can do years worth of content today. And literally I sat down and filmed like 2 years of content in one day, and I scheduled it out, but then I hadn't been in the game for years. I didn't have the same contracts coming back. I was stranded. There was no out for me. I knew that I had to make Viral Coach work, but at the time I didn't even understand why we were losing money. It looked like everything was going well. But when I tried to increase ad spend, when I tried to increase my revenue, the thing that I so desperately wanted to have control over, the customer acquisition process, it didn't work, and I didn't even understand why. I would work so hard to figure out why. I would work so in every possible way to save the business, to get ourselves out. I remember I would work at the office for like regular office hours to try to kind of like keep up the appearance that like, oh, I'm just working my time. But then I'd go home at 6 and work until 10, put my son to bed, and then I would wake up at 4 a.m. in like a cold sweat. And I couldn't sleep, and I would just get up and work. And during the regular working hours, I would have like working activities, stuff the business owner does. And then off the working hours, I would be spending every single minute trying to understand what was broken, watching sales calls, doing game tape review, looking at all these financials, the numbers, trying to understand what I was missing. And it wasn't until that client told me like, hey, I've never even seen one of your ads, that I realized that none of the ads were working. None of that stuff was getting us out. when I eventually did figure it out, we were legitimately like $1,000 away. I had $1,000 on the business credit card. I didn't need groceries anymore for that month, and I had $1,000. It was on it was on one of Noelle's city cards, my wife's city card, and we just stopped. It was like, this, we need this $1,000. If we don't have this, we're not gonna, like, I don't even know. Got the house reappraised, try to pull equity out. If you've ever been in real estate, I've bought and sold millions of dollars in real estate. You know what it's like when an appraiser appraises a home that doesn't have a pending offer on it. They lowballed us on the appraisal. It was like $50,000 that I could have gotten out of it. Like, and the time that it takes to do the paperwork, it was like another 30 days. It's like, I need 50,000 like today, like tomorrow. It was moving so fast. I was losing money so aggressively that I didn't even have time to refinance my house to squeeze another 50,000 out of it. It's a really nice property. The guy really messed with us on the appraisal. It wouldn't have done anything. It would have been like, it would have given my company another week, right? It would have given all my employees one more week's worth of work. But the work that we were doing at the time wasn't progressing us in the right direction. It was losing us money. It's like, I didn't even want to work for another week. I don't want to sell my airplane and keep us afloat for another month. I don't want to. And it's like, even if I did, I wouldn't know what to do with it. The business was actively losing money every single month. There was no way out. And it's not just my family that suffers. Like, I have employees that I love. They're amazing. They didn't do anything wrong. I have my mom. I take care of my mom. I pay for everything for her, and my grandma and my disabled aunt, who are refugees from Ukraine. And I remember making that last payment to her, like, fully knowing that, like, next month, hold on, there's another bear. Keep him away for a few minutes. I remember making that payment, moving. I had a little bit of cash in my account. I moved it over to my mom. It was like a $5,000 thing, and I was like, I didn't tell her this, but I had no clue how I would be able to pay for her bills or her rent or like anything next month. I had absolutely no plan. The way I got out of it was a very deep understanding of first touch, last touch attribution, and how much revenue my organic social media was actually bringing in. I also dropped my ad spend altogether. I think we went down to like $100 a day. At one point we were at thousands. I stopped spending money on the thing that was bleeding us dry, which is paid ads. I doubled down on organic social media, which is what I was proficient in anyways, what I believed in. It's what was making us the money anyways. I had to lose a lot of team members, dropping the staff down to accommodate for that. Sad for the ones that had to go, and I'm really grateful for the ones that stayed around, even though they weren't making money. Most of my people were in commission-based roles. Client acquisition, client fulfillment was in commission-based roles. They had a few very difficult months. They made more than I did that entire year, but it's difficult to ask them to show up to work when like there's nothing for them to do, because I can't afford the marketing, and even if I could, it doesn't work. Like their activities would have been pointless. They were incredibly patient with me, and then we dialed ad spend down a lot. And then around October, November, started to click again. I started to have a deeper understanding of the paid acquisition funnel. And that's when we took our business from legitimately $80,000 a month, which didn't even cover our costs, by the way. Like, I was just paying employees out for delivery and fulfillment to contracts that I had already committed to months ago. We made $80,000. And then I think 4 months later, we made $1 million. And then I felt safe again. And I've had an incredible year this year. Last month we did 3 million. This month we're pacing. I don't even want to tell you. I'll tell you. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I just want you to know, like, the difference between where we were last year and where we are now, simply due to understanding customer acquisition. This last month we did 3 million. This month we'll do like 3.2, 3.4. Next month we're scheduled for 5, and we'll probably stay at 5 for the rest of the year until I can staff more people in fulfillment. We have a full-time recruiter helping us out now. It's just the business is growing incredibly fast, with insane profit margins, millions of dollars in personal income per month. Very, very blessed to be in the position that I'm in. But it's the reason I feel so passionately about the business owners that we help. As a marketing company, I can't even tell you how embarrassed I was that our marketing wasn't working. And I see so many other marketing companies out there practice marketing when they can't even do their own marketing. They have no control over their own client fulfillment. How are they supposed to market for you when they can't even market themselves? That's what I thought about my business. And it was really embarrassing to just know that, like, when I did sign a client, they would be also subject to the same trap, and I had no control over it. I didn't even know what to tell them. I couldn't tell them to improve their marketing because I didn't know how to improve my own. Other than the organic social media stuff, I had no control over my business. But now it gives me an incredible amount of confidence. And I wish I could say that, like, that failure was necessary to be who I am today. Absolutely not. I think that's one of the stupidest sayings ever. You don't have to be that idiot that makes mistakes to learn from your own mistakes. You could be a smart person. You could learn from someone else's mistake. You could not make the mistake in the first place. Like, there's no prerequisite for you to have to go $500,000 into unsecured debt or go bankrupt, leave your family without a home for you to make money. No, that is never required. And that is why I'm making this video. I just want to impress upon you how stupid it is to make your own mistakes and have to learn from them yourself instead of just listening to someone, instead of just learning from someone who is a couple steps ahead of you. And I hope that's who I am for you today. I hope that by talking about the mistakes I made, by embarrassing myself for being such an idiot, that you guys end up better off because of it. But it's also what gives me the confidence. Now, I don't care what a client says. I don't care what prospects think. I don't care what anyone else thinks, because I know I'm good at marketing. I know that I made mistakes. I know that I overcame them. I know that I became really good at it. And so I don't care what anyone else's perception is. I see the money in my bank account every single month, and I know I'm right. And at the same time, I have some employees now that ask me, like, hey, how are you so calm? How are you so okay when things go wrong? How are you so composed when, this employee makes a mistake, or this client does this thing, or this thing comes in from legal, or this person stole from us? Like, you don't mind. How are you so calm under those circumstances? And it's all relative. If they knew, like, what I had actually gone through in my personal life, crying on my way to work every single morning, crying on my way home from work, not having any control, not knowing what I would do to feed my family next month. If they knew the pain that I lived through for most of last year, they would understand. All this other stuff is completely irrelevant. Literally no one else has made a bigger mistake than I have, ever. I made the biggest one. And so I'm very comfortable with other people making mistakes too. There's very little that can upset you when you have been absolutely beaten to the ground. And I'm glad I have that experience for context. I'm glad that I am more resilient when other people make mistakes or when things go wrong. None of it's even comparable to what I had to go through. And I'm glad I'm not there anymore. But again, I hope that this video at least, I should probably go. That bear's looking at me, and it's a black bear, and they're curious. They don't really care. I don't know how many more rounds I got. I got quite a few. I'll be all right, but I'm gonna pack up anyways. Hope this video at least helps. If you suck at client acquisition, if you don't have any control over your business, if you are living on hopes and prayers, if your entire business relies on word of mouth and commission, two things that are never in your control, 2 things that no matter how good or cool they are, can never double your business next month when you need it to. Learn from me. Look at one of the most 2 important metrics that you even have in any business and control either the income or the expenses. There's only a limit to how much expense you can control, as I very well learned, but there's no limit to how much income you can make. I hope this encourages you to make some money.